Welcome back everybody, I'm Nick930 and this is my final review for IO Interactive's Hitman 3. Hitman 3 is a third-person stealth-action sandbox game that tasks players with executing the perfect kill in the cleanest, most efficient way possible. It's the 8th mainline Hitman game in the series, and the epic conclusion to the World of Assassination trilogy that began way back in 2016, closing the book on 47's story with some of the best mission designs in years. For fans of the series, this game serves as the perfect bookend to the collection, wrapping up any narrative loose ends while also unifying all the content together into one cohesive package. But for players who were unimpressed with the past two Hitman games, this release likely won't change your mind. So first, let's take a spoiler-free look at the game's story. The new Hitman trilogy follows the story of a genetically engineered clone assassin known only as Agent 47, as he's sent around the world to eliminate seemingly random high-value targets. But after learning that the targets were part of a secret organization called Providence, Agent 47 and his handler, Diana Burnwood, embark on a new mission to hunt down their shadow client instead. By the end of Hitman 2, it's revealed that the shadow client is actually another victim of genetic experimentation at the Romanian asylum where 47 was first created, and the trio team up to take down Providence once and for all. This is where Hitman 3 kicks off, with Agent 47 traveling the world again, taking down targets and retrieving any relevant intel, in hopes of finishing the never-ending cycle of death and destruction. It's a bold and more personal plot, and one that takes some unexpected chances for the series, pushing each of the characters to their breaking point, and by the end, I was satisfied with how it all turned out. Though, being that this is the conclusion to the trilogy, the feeling is bittersweet. Frankly, the story in this trilogy has felt so disjointed compared to the original games that it's hard to even keep track of what's going on. This third entry does a much better job, and even has full motion cutscenes again, something that Hitman 2 lacked. But it never hits the same highs that fans may recall from Blood Money or Silent Assassin either. Thankfully, this can all be forgiven, as Hitman 3's gameplay, like its predecessors, is some of the best in the series. Hitman, at its core, is a stealth action game, built around sneaking through crowds and slipping past security to reach some high-value target. This can be achieved in a number of ways. The most common method is by using disguises. Almost every important NPC can have their clothes stolen, and their identity along with it. This method can be used to walk straight past otherwise hostile characters, and can even be used to reach a target via private meetings, opening up critical opportunities for a signature kill. The disguise system works the same way that it has in the past two games. Certain outfits can grant access to certain areas, and not everyone can be fooled by the ruse. To help bypass these more stubborn sentries, players can trigger distractions to lure them away from their post, like turning on radios, throwing objects, or overflowing toilets. Players can alternatively locate a secret path to bypass the guards entirely, usually by crawling around on ledges outside and climbing up poles to reach the upper floors. There's pretty much always another way around a situation, and discovering these paths and memorizing the level layout is key to mastering each environment. Then there's the actual assassinations themselves. Hitman 3 is built strongly around performing high-profile kills in the cleverest way possible. Targets typically follow a repeated path around the higher security areas of each level, and will stop to give the player a chance to make their move. The most straightforward method for accomplishing this is to use a weapon like a firearm or 47's signature garrote. But for players looking to improve their score, they should keep an eye out for environmental opportunities that can be used to make the kill look like an accident, like dropping a chandelier on top of a target, kicking them off a cliff, or triggering a gas leak at their favorite smoking spot. It's an incredibly rewarding gameplay design, but one that really hasn't changed all that much either. If you played Hitman 2016 or its sequel, then this is definitely just more of the same. The game's AI behaves just as predictably as always, and most of the kills, especially the accidents, have already been used at one point in the past. It all comes off feeling more like a big expansion pack, rather than its own distinct game. And aside from a few small features, the only real benefit of this new game are the fantastic new levels. Hitman 3 offers 6 new level environments to play through, and they're some of the very best levels to be introduced in the Hitman franchise in years, harking back to the quality level designs we saw back with Blood Money in 2006. Levels include the massive skyscraper in Dubai, an old British manor in Dartmoor, the rain-soaked streets of Chongqing, China, a dingy underground club in Berlin, and a large winery in the hillsides of Argentina. The final stage in the game is more story-driven and linear, so it doesn't offer the same level of replay value. Though, it's still a solid finale piece, and its claustrophobic design should offer a solid challenge for players looking to achieve the Suit-Only award. And while these levels are all massive, with lots of different paths to uncover and unique kill opportunities to experiment with, the biggest reason why they stand apart from the levels in the past games is that they seem to offer a unique twist to them. Dubai kicks the game off with a fairly straightforward mission structure, with 2 clearly labeled targets to take down in a highly secure building. But the Dartmoor mansion offers something completely new and fresh, in that it's built around a full murder mystery plot, complete with suspects to interrogate, clues to find, and plenty of twists along the way. It's a really cool idea that works surprisingly well, and the best part is that it's entirely optional, serving as just one of the many ways to get closer to the target. After spending a good hour or so with that level, the game then takes another wild turn with its Berlin nightclub mission, where the player isn't even informed who the targets are, requiring them to carefully search every inch of the complex to listen in for clues and determine who needs to be taken out. This type of mission variety is something I feel the Hitman series has desperately needed for a while now, and it helps to give each mission its own unique personality, that results in an experience that feels larger than it probably really is. Hitman 3 also adds in a few new features that honestly don't add too much to the feel of the gameplay. First, there's the camera tool, that is given to 47 by default at the start of most missions. And while yes, it can be used to take pictures, it also serves a second purpose, and can be used to remotely open doors, windows, and panels, depending on the level of security that players have managed to unlock. It's also used a good amount throughout the course of the murder mystery opportunity, as it can be used to scan objects of interest to log notes. It's certainly an interesting idea, but it does feel a little bit off, as it forces the game's perspective into first person and doesn't even seem to work properly when the player is attached to cover. Hitman 3 also introduces new shortcuts to each of the new level environments that, once unlocked, will be permanently open in repeat playthroughs. This is a great idea, as I think one of Hitman's strengths that a lot of people miss out on is how great they are to go back and replay. But for players looking to just play through the game once and never look back, this addition won't really add much to the game's value. Other features include new cinematic opening sequences to some of the missions that can be skipped over once they've been completed the first time, and a revamped player rating system that will show your preferred playstyle and explain in detail where you might have hurt your final score. Other than the flashy intros, gimmicky camera gadget, and the shortcuts, there's not really much else to Hitman 3's gameplay design that veteran players haven't seen before. In fact, some of the features from Hitman 2 seem to have been abandoned entirely, like the 2-player competitive mode and the sniper assassin missions. You can still go back and replay older levels from the past 2 games within the Hitman 3 client, but even this doesn't seem to be fully functioning yet, as players who purchase the first 2 games on Steam won't be able to verify those purchases with Hitman 3 at launch. Then of course we have the graphical design. As I discussed in detail with my Hitman 3 comparison a few weeks back, this new game really doesn't evolve much from a technical perspective either. The character models are carried over almost exactly, the environments look the same, and all the animations and AI function identically. But the new environments do a fantastic job of highlighting the Glacier Engine's strengths, with some of the most beautiful locations in the entire franchise. Each of the new locations has a distinct look and feel to them, and are enhanced further with some fantastic use of screen space reflections, specular lighting, and lots of well-implemented planar reflections for things like mirrors. It's a really great looking game, and while there's certainly a few dated effects here and there, it still holds up remarkably well against modern titles, and should still impress early adopters of next-gen platforms. Sadly, Hitman 3 also suffers from a few technical hangups as well. The biggest problem I encountered throughout the course of my playthrough were frequent hangups and freezes, likely the result of the game's built-in always-online system that will constantly verify that you're still logged in order to allow you to continue to play. If you happen to lose your internet connection, the game will immediately stop you from playing and kick you back to the main menu, requiring you to play in an offline mode instead. This has been one of the Hitman trilogy's biggest problems, and I'm disappointed IO Interactive still insist on this system, especially given how unstable the server seems to be in its current state. And I would like to see this always online requirement removed when they finally decide to end support for the game's live content. Other technical issues I ran into included some minor physics bugs, like this card glitching out a little bit, but it otherwise was a really solid and polished experience all the way through. And the performance on my build was absolutely flawless at a native 4K resolution, with frame rates consistently above 100 FPS. Overall, Hitman 3 is a satisfying conclusion to this 3-part collection of games. Each of the 5 main sandbox environments are some of the very best levels IO Interactive has ever made, with a gorgeous art direction, great variety, and the same solid replay value that players have come to expect. It's still not quite as long as the classic Hitman titles, as it can be completed within a single sitting pretty easily, but the amount of alternate paths, new opportunities, and bonus content should still provide fans of the series with countless hours of enjoyment anyway. I think it's important to see Hitman 3 not necessarily as its own standalone game, but rather as an expansion to the World of Assassination trilogy. Together, with every game since 2016, the collection offers some of the very best that the series has ever offered. And if you're looking to jump into the series for the first time, I highly recommend picking up all 3 of them together, as there's hours upon hours worth of content to enjoy here. But what do you guys think? Are you excited to play Hitman 3? Or are there some things that you wish were different? Let me know in the comment section. Also, if you want to learn more about the Hitman franchise, be sure to check out my full documentary on the history of Hitman in the link provided in the description. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this posted every week.